Ayy, look, yeah, ayy. I'm in the lab like Dexter, brand new batch he tested. I'm with all the extras, don't try and bitch, I'm pressure. I'm the type to step on steppers, I'm the type to step on steppers. I'm the type to step on steppers, I'm the type to step on steppers.
Today, I want to start off with Joel Embiid's comments. I think that's the hottest topic for us on our schedule today. He had an interview at the beginning of this week, and he asked him a lot of questions. And a lot of these comments, a lot of these responses were a lot of shots towards Nikola Jokic. But so first off, we'll talk about the MVP criteria and it changing every year and whether or not he agrees. Go ahead and read this quote that he coming from that article. He said the criteria does change. If we want to talk about the last 3 years since I've been in the running for it, the first year it was that I didn't play enough games. Last year I came back. I played enough games. I led the league in scoring, and obviously Nikola deserved it, and he won it. But then again, he won it as a 6th seed in the West. And then this year I'm leading the league in scoring. I'm doing all these things defensively. I should be making an all-defensive team too. I don't care, but every year it's something. And when you add analytics to it, which don't make any sense, you can talk about analytics all you want, but when you got some guys in the league that the eye test tells you that they're not playing good defensively, the analytics will tell you that they're the best defenders. That's when analytics doesn't make sense at all. I don't make the rules. I don't choose whatever criteria that they use. So it's really about whatever people's preferences are. So we'll go ahead and start off with that. We'll talk about Joel Embiid and the criteria for the MVP award. And what do you guys think about this?
Well, I do want to preface this by saying a lot of times these articles are dropped before key matchups. So, this interview could have been like a month or two ago. But of course, I think this was dropped just before that matchup against Denver, and then he was ruled out. So, these are usually timely release. Even Jaylen Brown's comments about him staying in Boston, apparently that interview was like a month and a half ago, or even back in January, but they decided to release it now. So Embiid has no say when they decide to release these articles. But I mean, the thing is, though, I feel like a lot of times whenever Joel Embiid says something, people get offended by his words versus when other guys say it, just because it's Joel Embiid. I mean, Giannis literally said the same thing about the MVP criteria. He said it's something that changes constantly. It's this whole argument about the MVP criteria constantly being something new is something that's been echoed by almost every player, every analyst, any fan of basketball. They've said the same thing. We've seen it in the past where winning was the award. The person who won the most it was given to. Then we saw it was given to someone with the stats. Then we saw it with a different narrative. Every year the narrative changes for who wins MVP. And in this moment, Embiid isn't lying, whether it's a shot to Jokic or not. I mean, last season, apparently, I think Jokic had a higher defensive rating than Joel Embiid. I mean, stuff like that. It's hilarious because we all know Jokic's deficiencies on defense. So, is Embiid lying here? I don't think at all. Like, I feel like people take it as, he's only vouching for himself. He only cares about individual awards. But I mean, how much is he lying? The guy didn't make an all NBA team for 2 years, even though we know how BS that is because of position restrictions. And then now all of a sudden there's no more restriction. We'll talk about that later. But now there's no more restrictions. Of course, he's going to be heated. I mean, the last 2 seasons, and then including now, he has potential to be left off again. I just feel like it's just because Joel Embiid says something that people are like, oh, this guy, he only cares about individual awards. He only cares about accomplishments. But, he's in line. This criteria changes every single year.
To me, I mean, I feel like, you just got to let your game play, bro. You know what the criteria is. He's coming into the season knowing, well, this how, they're going to say this, they're going to critique this, they're going to play like this, they play favoritism here and here. I feel like him coming out with these comments, kind of attacking Jokic for no reason. I mean, like, you attack Jokic, but Giannis is up there as well. So why not attack Giannis and say why he's not MVP? Or, like, what's the criteria for him, But him coming out for this interview saying, hey, this and that, I'm not under pressure to win a ring and all that, to me, it just shows that, hey, it's a little soft on his side, You don't got to, if you really think you're MVP, you don't got to go out to the media and fight for your case. Your game's going to show it to me. And to me, yes, Embiid, he does deserve an MVP. His game has shown it, but him coming to the media complaining and crying and try to take shots at other players, it don't sit well with me.
His game doesn't do it. Clearly, his game doesn't do enough talking then. His game doesn't. If he's not winning nothing, then I guess his game isn't doing any talking, or it's not doing enough talking for him.
You just got to keep it pushing. Then, if you really care about individual awards like that, then
I mean, I don't know why, but you should care. You should care about individual awards. Giannis said the same thing. I care about winning MVP. Of course, he's not going to be upset. Ultimately, the goal is to win the championship.
I'm in the league to win the championship. That's the main goal.
Yes, that's the main goal. But
everything else.
this whole mentality of I don't care about winning MVP. Like even they do it with Jokic. No, like every player cares about winning these personal
Jokic
awards.
came out,
They
he says, I'm
care.
tired of this. He said, I'm tired of me and
Of course they're gonna say that, but he has two of them. Of course he doesn't care anymore. He could care less about
He
it.
cared less, but
The guy has two.
have you seen any other player complain and go to the media and say, I need an MVP?
There's guys
I haven't seen that in
like
the past. Who? Name one person other than Embiid that's been trying to do this.
who has been who has been done in like this by Embiid by the media for 2 years regarding all NBA.
Harden has been robbed before. He hasn't complained.
And he's complained. He's 100%
No.
He's 100%
Not coming out to like this saying, hey, the criteria for this, other players are not playing defense.
Like I can guarantee I can bring up James Harden explicitly complaining about the MVP. It's a real thing.
See, the thing is though, it's not about like, okay, Joel Embiid's game does the talking for him, and at some points during the season it might not be enough. But Nikola Jokic is just a better player. Like that's what he does. That's what he fails to understand. Like he doesn't understand.
What does that mean? What does that mean?
I'm not gonna really agree with that. Because I feel like Embiid, what he brings to the table for Philadelphia is a whole lot, especially on the offensive side of the ball and defensive side of the ball. It's extremely a lot.
It's just not a lot more than Nikola Jokic. That's all I'm saying.
I mean, Jokic is averaging what? I'd be 23, like 22, 23.
Like he's up to like 24 or something.
Talk about Embiid averaging 33, 34. That goes a long way. That's 10 more points to them. But people want to say, oh, Jokic does this on the assist side. He has this much assist. I mean, obviously, like assist does count, but
yeah, it's a 25-point triple-double. Hold on, let's not try to normalize this now.
Embiid averaging 33 compared to 24 points.
No, averaging 33 is good. It's crazy, you know, for a big man. But let's not normalize what Nikola Jokic is doing right now. Averaging a 25-point triple-double as a big man in this league. That's never been done before.
But the thing is, he has a right to be angry. He has a right to complain. Like I don't get it. Do people just want to be like, oh, just keep hooping, man. Stop talking about it.
You gotta understand.
Players are naturally gonna be like, what the hell? It's been 2 years and I don't have a chance at winning MVP.
I don't know. I feel like him attacking Jokic on the net rating, taking subliminal shots.
That's facts. So like analytic nerds have ruined discourse.
But the thing is, why are you taking shots at Jokic? Why don't you take shots at media and everybody else?
Because who's been backed by analytics the most out of any player? Jokic. Of course he's gonna take a shot at it.
Is that Jokic's fault?
But he's the subject of analytics. When people talk about the analytics darling, it's Jokic. He's the one at the front of it.
Like I said, man, coming to the media and complaining and crying, I don't know. It just shows me, it even adds on to the next thing that he came out with saying, I'm not under no pressure to win a ring. There's other players that should be under pressure that have 3-time MVPs, 2-time MVPs, all defensive, all NBA teams. And him saying, I have no pressure. Why not? You're one of the best players in the league. You're getting eliminated back to multiple years in the second round. You say, I have no pressure. Where's the competitiveness? You can't beat the Bucks. You can't beat the Hawks. You can't beat the Celtics. Why are you competing? How can we crown somebody the best player, but they're getting eliminated?
But he did admit there is pressure on him. But he's saying why should there be more pressure on him compared to a guy that's winning MVP 2 in a row? That doesn't make any sense. Clearly,
hold on. Let me read out the direct quote from Joel Embiid from this. So they basically asked him, "Do you go into this postseason with a title or bust mentality?" He said, "Not necessarily. I don't care about the pressure that everybody puts on me. All I care about is the pressure that I put on myself to win. People have been talking about who has the most pressure to win. People want to mention me. I'm not at the top of the list. I'm not a 2-time MVP. I've never made first team All NBA. I've never won anything. So why is there pressure on me?"
That's facts, though.
When there are guys that have won 2 MVPs and a bunch of MVPs
right
that haven't done anything either.
That's facts, though. Like if
to me,
people are putting
a little more jealousy towards Jokic because now he's keep on bringing up Jokic.
No, I have a question. If a guy won 2-time MVP, right, and he's the first team All NBA center for 2 years in a row, gonna go on possibly 3 if he wins MVP this year, and a 3-time MVP possibly. So both of those. How in the world is a guy who hasn't done any of those have more pressure than the other guy? The other guy clearly has to have more pressure because what? The media declares him as the better player because he won those awards. Did he not?
But it wasn't about the question wasn't about who has more pressure.
He's saying he's not at the top of the list. He's saying he's not. That's facts.
He's not at the top of the list, but
he is at the top of the list. Hold on, wait. What are we talking about?
He's not at the top of the list.
He's at the top of the list. This guy's been in the league for 9 years now. Hasn't been past
for the title for a title and bust mentality. He is not, and all that pressure. He is not at the top of the list. Jokic is literally sitting at the top. And if he wins MVP, that's even more. That's a bigger gap than anyone else.
Jokic has to win a finals. You know, to claim to be the best player in the world, You have to win. You got to, especially if he gets his third MVP, he has to win that finals. And Embiid, if Embiid comes on the second round again, they grant him the MVP award and he gets eliminated. Where's the pressure at again? Like he has the
Let
now.
me
He's
ask you
gonna get the
this.
All NBA first team, right?
Yeah.
Like he's gonna get that first team, so there is pressure on him. Like you can't go into saying I ain't got no pressure. I'm not top of the list, bro. You're one of the best. You're top 5 player in the league.
Yeah, let me ask you this. James Harden, right? What was the reason why people discredited a lot of his MVP success? What was the biggest reason why?
His playoff shortcomings.
That's exactly my point, right? People saw it as, well, he has this MVP. He's a great regular season performer. That's nice and all, but where's the finals? Where's he been? He has nothing to show for it. Imagine Steph Curry, right? From 2014-15, 2015, 2016. What if he didn't win a single ring in those 2 seasons that he won MVP? How would that look on him?
It would look terrible.
It would look terrible on him. That's my point that I'm making. It's like it seems like it's unfair, but when you win MVP, you become the guy. You're supposed to be claiming best basketball player in the world if you win MVP 2 times in a row and then 3. So that's my point. Of course, Joel Embiid has pressure. He's never been to at least an Eastern Conference Finals. He's never been out of the second round. But I still believe there's no question in my mind that he's right in this quote saying he's not at the top of the list of guys that should be feeling the most pressure. Because the media didn't put him in that category.
But the thing is, though, he can't.
We came out with our list, though, right? We
Yeah.
know top 5 players on that list, and Embiid's part of that 5. It doesn't matter if he's 3.
You say he's not top of the list, though.
But it doesn't matter if he's 1 or not. Like he still has that pressure on him to go win a ring. At least get out the second round, go to the conference finals, compete, and then coming out, same slack. Hey, I'm not supposed to do this because I don't have an All NBA team. I'm not supposed to win a ring. I don't have an MVP. I'm not supposed to win a ring.
That's my problem with this entire thing, because they didn't ask him if it's who has the the most pressure to win an NBA championship. They asked him, is he going into this postseason with a title or a bust mentality? And he said, not necessarily. Like, how are you going to go into one of the biggest postseasons of your life, of your career, and not have a mentality where it's, if we don't win an NBA championship, whatever I've done this entire season is a failure? Like, then he's pretty much admitting defeat, and he's content with it. We talk about Damian Lillard all the time, running from the grind by staying in Portland. Why are we not having the same discussion with Joel Embiid when it comes to the postseason? This guy's been in the league for quite some time now. He's been a dominant center, but he still hasn't made the Eastern Conference Finals once. And we talk about Nikola Jokic and the pressure on him to win a championship. Yes, I agree. There's pressure, but when Nikola Jokic makes the playoffs, he doesn't necessarily play bad in the playoffs. It's not about playing good. People don't care. They're not going to look back and be like, well, you played great in that first round series or that second round season. They're going to look at, well, did this guy make the finals and did he win the finals? No, they're going to look at, he had the number 1 seed in the Western Conference and he didn't win the finals. That's what they're going to look at. So it's like, well, Joel Embiid has a point in the sense, for example, he came out with, I think there's comments today regarding the whole the champion, basing everything on a championship, right? And he said this. He said everybody's always basing everything on winning a championship, but that's not all that matters. Obviously, you want to win a championship, but would you rather be in contention every year, or would you rather be at the bottom and fighting to make the playoffs every single year? And people had a problem with this quote saying, well, this is such a loser mentality. Well, there's guys like Dame that are sitting at the 13th seed and they're content with that. That's not the same thing as Joel Embiid. This guy's obviously trying to stay in contention every single year. You don't win the championship, okay, that's fine, right? But it's about being in contention. That's my point. It seems like everything, when Joel Embiid says it, the media, it just continues to exasperate it. They make it bigger than it actually is. So I just feel like they over exaggerate everything that Embiid says and paint it as, well, this guy only cares about individual awards. I mean, the thing is, though, you mentioned it when we talked about the MVP criteria. Giannis said the same thing a couple of weeks ago. People aren't going to say much about Giannis saying because he won an NBA championship. He put 50 points in a closeout game to win.
But it's a regular season award, though, is it not?
It is a regular season award, but unfortunately, people do take into account playoff performers and their playoff performances. And Joel Embiid has a lot of shortcomings in the playoffs. You mentioned James Harden earlier. He's right there with Joel Embiid when it comes to playoff shortcomings. He has the good, he has the bad. I feel like that when you talk about Giannis, he had a lot of bad to start off his career, but then obviously he overcame it when he won a championship. So I feel like
okay, but the thing is, though, with Giannis, it hurt him. It hurt him. Like when Giannis had the disappointment against the Miami Heat in the bubble, and then next following year he had a great argument to win MVP. They didn't even bother to consider the guy. because of playoff shortcomings. So why does it seem like when it comes to a guy like Jokic, there's like certain excuses that are made for him, or there's certain they go around it. But when it comes to guys like Giannis and Embiid and Harden and stuff like that, they're a lot more harsher on them when they have playoff shortcomings. I just don't like the double standards.
No, I'm holding. Like I said earlier on, I forgot what episode it was. I still hold Jokic. I put him in the top 5 list to win a championship, especially if you want to be crowned the best player. 3 MVPs. If he does get that third MVP, he doesn't do it. Like, he's gonna cook in the playoffs. But if he doesn't come out, go to the finals, win, it don't mean nothing. To be honest, it really don't mean nothing, because next season is gonna come around. He's gonna have 25, 13, and 12. He's gonna average a triple double, and it's gonna be the same thing again this year. So, at the same point, Embiid coming out saying it, I do get where he's trying to say, but it just, at this point, you know what it is. You know what the media is gonna do. You know how it's gonna twist your words. Just go out and hoop. If you don't win the award, go out and perform in the playoffs. Try to get the chip. Just go out and fight. That's it. Taking shots at Jokic, talking about, hey, he's a 2-time player. He needs more pressure. Why am I getting pressure? That's not your case to fight, bro. Let the media fight handle that. If media don't like you, media don't like you. Just keep it pushing.
And then, to be honest, I mean, this whole discussion did start with Joel Embiid sitting out against the Denver Nuggets on Monday night. Of course, everybody was looking forward to that marquee matchup between him and Jokic. Same time last year, we had a matchup between these two, and Nikola Jokic was able to win that game.
That don't mean nothing. That matchup really didn't mean nothing, because we seen what Embiid did to him early on in the year.
Well, how does that not mean anything?
But he literally dropped 47 on his head top, and nobody wanted to mention that first matchup. Everybody swept it under the rug. They didn't mention nothing about Jokic getting cooked or anything. But when he's coming,
no, they did.
No, not like the way Embiid got cooked. No, not like the way Embiid got cooked for sitting out against Denver. Not like the way people were mad. People were talking about
people are
sitting out more than him dropping 50 on Jokic's head.
Yes, because I don't think you understand. I don't think you understand. We're in the closest MVP race ever.
Nuggets barely won that game by like how much? 5 points without Embiid, Harden playing.
That's because when the second unit came in during crunch time, they weren't able to close out the game.
We'll check the fourth quarter minutes.
But that's besides the point, though. Last year, the MVP race was decided by a game like this, when Nikola Jokic and the Denver Nuggets came into Philadelphia to play Joel Embiid and the Sixers. It was on prime time. I think it was like a Wednesday night. And you talking
about when Bones turned into Steph Curry? You talking about that game? Yeah, I remember that game. But Bones turned into Steph Curry.
And Nikola Jokic stepped up as well.
And the thing is when Embiid sat out later on in that week, right? Jokic sits out back-to-back games, and everybody's Jokic is MVP. Look how his team is
sitting out. Is Jokic sitting out a matchup versus Joel Embiid, or is he sitting out a matchup versus?
Like how the criteria changes when he sat out against the Suns and the Pelicans. It's like, Nuggets need Jokic to win. When Embiid sits out, look how close the game is. They really don't need Embiid. It's very close. They barely.
I don't think you understand. Look how the Denver Nuggets and the Milwaukee Bucks played a couple nights before the Sixers and Nuggets played. That's a Giannis versus Jokic matchup. Jokic could have easily sat that game if he wanted to, but he didn't. He played that game, and unfortunately, he was good enough to win.
Embiid wasn't hurt with a calf injury?
Embiid was not hurt. He played these last couple of games. He wasn't hurt. The reason why they sat him was because they were playing 3 games in 4 nights.
Every time Embiid comes up with an injury, he's not hurt. He has to play. We seen the guy play on a tear in the ACL.
But that's on them. That's on them to rest Embiid versus the Suns on that back-to-back. That's on that's what they're supposed to be doing. They're supposed to rest Embiid on that matchup and then play him against the Nuggets. But they played him on that back-to-back though.
I don't see it that way. Because the thing is, I think the Sixers were anticipating a Joel Embiid appearance on Monday night for that matchup between him and Jokic. But Joel Embiid decided that, and in the management, they decided that, we played 3 games in 4 nights. We're going to have to rest Joel somewhere. And Joel Embiid mentioned it a couple weeks ago. He said, I'm going to have to take a game off. But this is not the game you take off. You play this game, and you probably take a game off against, I believe the next game they had was against the Dallas Mavericks. You sit out that game where you're going up against Dwight Powell. That's their best big man. You don't necessarily have to prove a point against the Dallas Mavericks, but you have to show up against the Denver Nuggets, against Jokic. This is a guy you're going up against for the 3rd year in a row for the award that you want. And it doesn't make any sense to me. How are you going to sit out? And the reason why I say this is because James Harden was also about to be available to play in that game as well. But, he went through shoot around. Next thing you know, Joel Embiid announces he's sitting out. James Harden and the Sixers agree, okay, we'll just go ahead and sit you out for this one as well. So I feel like what Joel Embiid did is They have to take that into account when it comes to the MVP race in this whole
Nah,
MVP
come on,
award.
man.
They have to.
I
Because
hope they take into account that 47 piece he gave him last time as well. I hope they
yes,
take that.
they definitely should. They
They
definitely should.
which
But
I don't
you
think they
don't think
will.
you don't think it's a bit odd that Joel Embiid hasn't played a game in Denver since 2019? Come
Nah,
on now.
I don't think that's odd. Because we've
There's
seen,
just no.
but like, what does ducking mean? He gave him 47 last time. Why would he duck a guy who gave him 47? Like, what does that mean?
Then all you have to do,
step back,
just suit up.
Step back 3 days in the game. Don't forget that.
Yeah, then just suit up. Then just suit up to play him again. What's so hard about that? You have
Like,
3 games on 4 nights.
Is he scared of Jokic? Is that what everybody's implying? Like,
It's
I
not
don't
about
get it.
it's not about being scared of Jokic. It's about him being scared of losing the MVP race to him again for the 3rd time in a row. It's not about you being scared of Jokic as himself, but if Joel Embiid knew if he went into that game against Jokic and he underperformed, or if Jokic outperformed him and the Nuggets were able to win, the MVP race is over. Kind of similar to what happened last year, when Jokic came into Philadelphia and he ended up coming out with the win. That's what stamped Jokic's MVP last year.
Yeah, and I remember that game. Bones Highland turned into Steph Curry. That made Jokic.
Bones Highland was hooping like me, man. We was hitting threes like nothing.
When Jokic had 22 points that game, but
they were able to win, and that was just enough for Jokic to win a 2nd MVP. So I feel like
keep in mind Embiid had 34 that game, by the way.
I understand both sides of the argument. Both sides of it's tough. I feel like both these players they do deserve MVP, especially Jokic this year. He had a fantastic year, like one of his best years, probably his best year all of his career. And but at the same time, Embiid has been hooping every single year. I don't like how the criteria changes for certain players. They move bricks, they move walls just to fit this in, and all this net rating and VORP and LeBron D and all that. It shouldn't count towards the MVP stuff.
Nah, I think you got to take into account of these matchups. We don't 2 players that are on different sides of the coast. You only get to see this matchup twice a year, and all of a sudden you want to sit out, one of the biggest games towards the end of the season, but you want to go ahead and play a game against the Mavericks where, the lights aren't going to be as bright.
Yeah, the lights are still bright. 4th quarter where he had that masterclass defensively, that block against Luka, and he erased him. I remember that.
I mean, nobody's gonna remember him going off against Dwight Powell. Like people aren't gonna remember that.
They're gonna remember that 4th quarter, that defensive masterclass.
Yeah. I saw obviously this MVP race and this whole discussion between Jokic and Embiid. It's gonna be a discussion for years to come. But with the season coming to a close, there's only gonna be one MVP, and it's gonna be interesting to see who they give this award to and what the voters take into account. And I really hope they take this into account. Embiid sitting out this matchup. But I guess we're just gonna have to wait and see. But
record a new hit, then we making us a film. Wouldn't sign a deal if I got a couple mil. Been in the lab, now they throwing out deals. Me and now Lake, now that's overkill.